The ruins of New Haven burned under an orange sky. Smoke rose from collapsed buildings and the smell of burnt metal filled the air. Corporal Hant Min pressed his back against a broken wall, breathing hard. His uniform was torn and covered in dust. Blood dried on his left arm from a cut he barely remembered getting. Evacuation sirens had stopped 3 hours ago. That meant the transport ships were gone. That meant he was alone. Tam Min was 28 years old, and he had been fighting the Valkyrie for 2 years. Aliens were massive creatures, nearly Clear's throat, 3 m tall with 4 powerful arms and scales that looked like broken crystal. They were strong, fast, and they wanted humanity off every colony world humans had built. The war was not going well. He checked his rifle. Half a magazine left. His radio was dead. Smashed during the retreat when his unit got separated. His best friend Jiu had died 3 days ago, cut down by Valkyrie plasma fire while they held a defensive position. Tammin had not cried. Yet there was no time for crying in war. He needed to move. The Valkyrie search patrols would sweep this sector. Soon, if they found him alone, he would die. Simple as that. Tammin stood and started moving through the ruined residential district. These had been homes once. Human families had lived here. Children had played in these streets. Now everything was rubble and ash. The Valkyrie did not care about human homes or human lives. To them, humans were pests to be removed. That was when he heard it, a sound, high-pitched and strange. Not human, but also not the clicking language the Valkyrie warriors used. It sounded like crying. It sounded like a child. Every instinct Tammin had told him to ignore it and keep moving. Every minute he stayed here increased his chance of death, but his feet stopped walking. His head turned toward the sound. He followed it carefully, rifle ready. The sound came from a collapsed building. What looked like it had been a medical center. Part of the roof had caved in, creating a mess of broken concrete and twisted metal, and underneath the rubble he saw it, a small Valkyrie child, maybe 5 years old in human terms. Its body was different from the adult warriors. The scales were soft and pale green, not hardened crystal. It had the same 4 arms, but they were tiny and weak. Large golden eyes stared up at him, wide with terror and pain. Tammin froze. This was the enemy. This creature's people had killed thousands of humans, had killed Jiu, had destroyed New Haven and dozens of other colonies. He should leave it here. He should put a bullet in it and move on. But those eyes, those scared, hurting eyes. Tammin lowered his rifle and knelt down. The child flinched, making a frightened keening sound. It tried to pull itself free, but was trapped by a heavy piece of concrete across its lower body. He should leave. He should go now. Instead, Tam set his rifle aside and started moving rubble. The child watched him with those golden eyes, confused. Tam worked quietly, carefully. Some of the debris was heavy, and his injured arm screamed in pain. But he kept going. After 10 minutes, he pulled the child free. It had a crushed leg bent at a wrong angle. The child whimpered and clutched at him with its small forearms, instinctively seeking comfort. Tammin found himself making soft sounds, the kind you make to calm a scared animal, to calm a scared child. That was when he heard the drones. Valkyrie searched. Drones sweeping the area. They would be here in seconds. If they found him with this child, they would either kill him immediately or capture him for Interrogation and execution, either way. He was dead, but if they found their child alone and injured because a human left it to die, would that make the war worse? Would they take revenge on human prisoners? Tam made a decision that he did not fully understand. He pulled the child against his chest and threw his thermal cloak over both of them. The child was warm, warmer than a human child. It trembled against him. He started humming an old Korean song his mother had sung to him as a child. Something about stars and moonlight. The drones buzzed overhead. Then he heard footsteps, heavy footsteps, Valkyrie warriors. Tammin forced himself to go limp, to act injured and delirious. He kept the child pressed tight against him, hidden under the cloak. The child somehow stayed quiet. Two Valkyrie warriors approached. He could smell them, a strange scent like copper and electricity. One of them kicked his leg. Tammin groaned and muttered in Korean, pretending to be barely conscious. Omni. More mother water. The warrior scanned him with a device. Taemin could hear it beeping. Then the warrior clicked something in their language. They were leaving. They thought he was just another dying human soldier not worth capturing. The warriors moved away. The drones followed. He looked down at the child, still clutched against his chest. Those golden eyes stared up at him with something that looked like trust. The child had stayed quiet when the warriors came. Had it understood? Had it hidden on purpose? Tammin did not know. He did not want to think about it too hard. He carried the child for an hour, moving carefully through the ruins. His arm hurt, his legs hurt, everything hurt, but the child was light and it had stopped crying. It just held on to him, its small arms wrapped around his neck. Finally he saw it. The edge of Valkyrie controlled territory. He could see their medical station, recognizable by the red crystal markers they used. If he got closer he would be killed, but if he left the child here, they would find it. Tammin set the child down gently near piece of rubble that would hide it from human eyes but be visible to Valkyrie patrols. The child looked up at him, confused. It reached for him with one small hand. He backed away. The child made a sad sound. Taemin turned and ran before he could change his mind. He did not look back. He could not look back. 3 hours later, he reached a human patrol and was evacuated to the orbital station. When they asked him what happened, he said he got separated and hid until it was safe. He did not mention the child. He did not know why. That night in his bunk on Haven's watch station, Tammin stared at the ceiling and wondered if the child had survived. He wondered if the Valkyrie had found it. He wondered why he cared. He told himself it was just a moment of weakness. He told himself it meant nothing. He was wrong. 3 months passed since New Haven fell. Corporal Hant Min tried to forget about the child. He tried to focus on his duties aboard Haven's watch, the orbital defense platform circling the colony world. He worked, he ate, he slept. He did not talk about what happened in the ruins. But sometimes late at night he saw those golden eyes in his dreams. His commanding officer, Major Lee Hana, noticed something was wrong. She was a sharp woman, 35 years old, with cold eyes and a brilliant mind. She had led her soldiers through 3 major battles and never lost her nerve. People said she had ice in her veins instead of blood. One day she pulled Tammin aside in the corridor. Tammin stood at attention. "No, ma'am, I Am fine. Hana studied him for a long moment. If you need to talk to someone, the counselors are available. We cannot afford mistakes up here. I understand. Ma'am, she dismissed him, but Tammin could feel her watching him as he walked away. The truth was, Tammin did not know what to say. How could he explain that he saved an enemy child? How could he explain that he still thought about it? In war, you were supposed to hate the enemy. You were supposed to kill them without hesitation. But he had seen that child's fear, had felt its small arms holding on to him, and he could not make himself feel the hate he was supposed to feel. On the 97th day after New Haven, everything changed. Taemin was in the station's common area drinking bad coffee and trying to read when the alarm sounded. Not the combat alarm, but something different, the diplomatic contact alarm. It had never sounded before. Everyone ran to their stations. Taemin reached the engineering bay and pulled up the alert on his screen. His blood went cold. An unmarked Valkyrie ship was requesting docking permission. They were broadcasting a message. They were asking for Corporal Han Taemin by name, rank, an identification number. They had his biometric signature. They knew exactly who he was. The entire station went to battle stations. Major Hana's voice came over the comm, sharp and controlled. All personnel, this is not a drill. Valkyrie vessel is requesting contact. Stay at your posts and await orders. Taemin stared at the screen. How did they know his name? Had they found him on some recording from New Haven? Were they here to execute him, to put him on trial for some war crime, or was it about the child? 2 hours later, Tam stood in the main docking bay with 50 armed soldiers surrounding him. Major Hana stood beside him, her hand resting on her sidearm. The bay doors were sealed behind them. Everyone was ready for an attack. The Valkyrie ship docked. With a heavy clang, the airlock cycled. The doors opened. Taemin had seen Valkyrie warriors before. He had fought them, killed them, watched them kill his friends, but he had never seen one like this. The female Valkyrie who stepped through the airlock was massive even for her species. She was 3 m tall and her scales were deep red, covered in crystalline armor that caught the light like broken diamonds. Golden bands on her forearms marked her as high rank. Very high rank. She moved with absolute confidence, like she owned the entire station. Behind her walked a smaller figure, a child with soft green scales and large golden eyes. Taemin's heart stopped. He knew that child. He had saved that child. The Valkyrie Matriarch stopped 3 m away, her eyes bright silver, locked onto Taemin. When she spoke, her voice was deep and accented, but she spoke perfect human language. Corporal Han Taemin, I am Matriarch Velana, Supreme Commander of the 3rd Fleet. You saved my daughter Shannara. In the ruins of New Haven, the bay was silent. Every human soldier stared. Major Hana's hand tightened on her weapon, but she did not draw it. Taemin did not know what to say. He settled for the truth. I found her trapped. I helped her. Velana's forearms moved in a complex gesture. Then she did something that made every human in the room gasp. The massive alien warrior knelt down on one knee, bringing herself to Taemin's eye level. In my culture, a life debt must be repaid. You protected the heir to my house when you could have killed her. You could have left her to die. You did not. By the old laws, by the code of Kalish, I name you Shield of the Air. I claim you as Kalvishar. Bound to my house. I don't understand. Tam said. The child Shannara stepped forward. She moved right up to Tam, looking up at him with those golden eyes. Then she made a sound, a happy, chirping sound, and wrapped her four small arms around his waist in a hug. Tam stood frozen. The child was hugging him. The enemy commander's child was hugging him in front of 50 armed humans and treating him like a long-lost friend. Velana rose to her full height. You are under my protection now. You are part of my household. I will not leave this station without you. Major Hana stepped forward, her voice ice cold. Matriarch, with respect, Corporal Te Min is a human soldier under human command. You cannot simply claim him. Velana turned her silver eyes to Hana. The calf's bond is older than your species human. It is absolute. He saved my daughter. He is mine to protect mine. To honor, this is not negotiable. Everything is negotiable, Hana said. A war that may not need to continue. Velana replied, if humans are capable of mercy, capable of honor, then perhaps we have been wrong about your species. The words hung in the air like a bomb, waiting to explode. Around the bay, soldiers shifted nervously. This was not a normal first contact. This was something bigger, something that could change everything. Tam looked down at the child, still hugging him. Shannara looked up and smiled, showing small, pointed teeth. She started making sounds, words in her own language. Tammin did not understand them, but the tone was clear. She was happy to see him. She had missed him. He had saved this child and forgotten about her, but she had not forgotten him. Major Hana pulled Tammin aside, turning her back on the Valkyrie. She spoke quietly, for his ears only. This is your choice, Corporal. Command will want you to accept. They will want intelligence from inside a Valkyrie ship. But I will not order you to go with them. If you refuse, we will protect you. Tam looked at Hana, then back at Velana and Shannara. The child was watching him with hope in her strange alien eyes. He thought about Jiu dead in the ruins of New Haven. He thought about all the humans killed in this war. He thought about hate and revenge and everything soldiers were supposed to feel. Then he thought about a scared child trapped under rubble and the choice he had made without thinking. Maybe this was important. Maybe this meant something. Maybe one person could make a difference, even in a war. I will go, Tam said. Major Hana's eyes widened slightly. Are you certain? No, Tam admitted, but I am going anyway. Velana's scales seemed to shimmer with something like satisfaction. Then come, Calvester. Your place waits aboard my ship. Shannara grabbed Tammin's hand with two of her small hands and tugged him toward the airlock. He followed, feeling like he was walking off the edge of a cliff into empty space. Behind him he heard Major Hana speaking into her comm, reporting to command. Her voice was calm and professional, but he could hear the uncertainty underneath. None of them knew what would happen next, Tammin least of all. But as the airlock doors closed behind him, separating him from the human world and pulling him into the alien one, he felt strangely calm. He had made a choice to save a child. Now he would live with where that choice led him, even if it led straight into the heart of enemy territory. The Valkyrie flagship Crimson Spire was nothing like a human ship. The corridors were huge, built for beings 3 m tall. The walls glowed with a soft red light that came from the metal itself. Everything smelled strange, like copper and Something sweet Tammin could not identify. He was given quarters near the Matriarch's family chambers. The room was big enough for 3 humans but felt cramped for. There was a sleeping platform, some kind of chair he could not figure out how to sit in, and a view screen showing the stars outside. A Valkyrie warrior stood guard outside his door. Her name was Kay then, and she made her feelings very clear the first time they met. She blocked his doorway with her massive body and spoke in broken human language. I watch you, human matriarch honors you, but I trust nothing. You hurt the child, I kill you, debt or no debt. Tam looked up at the towering warrior and nodded. I understand. I would do the same. Something shifted in. See then silver eyes, maybe respect, maybe just surprise that he agreed with her. She stepped aside and let him into his quarters. The first 2 days were confusing. Tammin did not speak the Valkyrie language. Most Valkyrie did not speak human language. He was given food that looked strange and tasted stranger. Though it did not make him sick, he was measured for some kind of armor, though he did not know why. Shannara visited him constantly. The child would slip past Cal then and run into his quarters, chattering in her language and showing him things. Valkyrie toys, data pads with images, pieces of shiny crystal she seemed to think were treasures. Tammin did not understand her words, but he understood that she was happy he was there. On the 3rd day, another human arrived. Her name was Namsujin, and she was a Zenal linguist who had been captured 8 months ago. She was in her 30s with sharp eyes and a wry smile. So you are the famous human who saved the air, Sujin said in Korean when they met. The whole ship is talking about you. What are they saying? Tammin asked. Half think you are a miracle, half think you are a spy. Everyone is confused because nothing like this has ever happened before. She sat down on the edge of his sleeping platform. Do you understand what being Kalvashar means? Not really, Sujin laughed. Neither did I at first. The Valkyrie have this old tradition about life debts. If someone saves a family member, especially a child, the debt is absolute. But you did not just save any child, you saved the heir to one of the most powerful houses in their empire. As Kalveshter, you have authority over matters involving Shannara. You can speak on her behalf. You can influence decisions that affect her future. Tammin stared at her. I am just a corporal. I am nobody. 3rd, I am nobody. Not anymore, Sujin said. Whether you wanted it or not, you are now part of Valkyrie high society, and a lot of people are not happy about it. She was right. Over the next week, Tammin learned that his presence on the ship was causing problems. Some Valkyrie treated him with respect, even reverence. Others glared at him with open hatred. He heard angry voices through walls, arguments in a language he could not understand. Sujin translated some of it for him. There is a Wararchief named Thalarin who thinks Villana has gone soft. He is saying she has been manipulated by human tricks. He wants the war to continue until every human colony is destroyed. What does Rana want? Tammin asked. I think Sujin said carefully. She wants to understand if humans are worth talking to, if we have honor, if peace is possible. That night Tammin was summoned to dine with Villana's family. The dining chamber was enormous, with a table built for Valkyrie size. Villana sat at the head. Shannara sat beside her, and 3 other Valkyrie who Sujin identified as Velana and LT Unk and GT's mates. And advisors, Tam felt very small and very human sitting at that table. Rana spoke through Sujin's translation. Tell me, Tammin, why did you save my daughter? Your people and mine are at war. She was your enemy, Tam thought. About lying, about saying something noble. But he had learned that the Valkyrie valued truth. I do not know, he said. Honestly, I saw her trapped and scared. And I could not leave her there. I did not think about the war. I just saw a child who needed help. Velana and LT Unk and GT's scales rippled, which Sujin had taught him meant she was thinking, this is very strange to us. A Valkyrie warrior would not help an enemy's child. We would leave it to die or kill it quickly. It is practical, but you chose differently. Maybe humans are not practical, Tammin said. Maybe, agreed, or maybe you understand something we do not. Shannara suddenly spoke up, her voice high and excited. Sujin translated. She says you sang to her in the ruins a song about stars. Tam nodded. My mother used to sing it to me when I was afraid. Teach me, Shannara said through Sujin. Teach me the star song. So Tam sang softly in Korean. It was a simple children's song about moonlight and stars watching over sleeping children. His voice was not good, but Shannara listened with absolute focus. When he finished, she clapped her 4 hands together and tried to sing it back, mangling the Korean words in a way that made everyone at the table make sounds that might have been laughter. For a moment, it felt almost normal, like a family dinner, like the war did not exist, but the war did exist. 2 days later, Major Lee Hana arrived on the Crimson Spire as a human liaison officer. She was there officially to maintain communication, but when she met privately with Tammin, she had a different purpose. Command wants you to gather intelligence, she said quietly. Ship layouts, weapon systems, anything useful. You have access they could only dream of. Tammin looked at her. You want me to spy on them? I want you to help humanity survive, Hana said. Thousands of lives are at stake. This is an opportunity we cannot waste. Rana is treating me with honor, Tam said. She trusts me. She is the enemy, Hana replied. Do not forget that. But Tam was not sure anymore what enemy meant. He had shared meals with Velana and LT Unk and GT's family. He had played simple games with Shannara and watched her laugh. He had seen Calvin teach younger warriors with patience and skill. These were not monsters, they were people, different people, but people. That night he lay on his sleeping platform and stared at the ceiling. He was caught between 2 worlds, trusted by neither, belonging to both. The Valkyrie expected him to be their bridge to humanity. The humans expected him to be their spy. He did not know how to be either. Shannara visited him before sleep time, as she did every night. She climbed up onto his platform and curled against his side, something she had started doing after the 3rd day. It seemed to comfort her. Maybe it comforted him too. Sing the star song, she said in careful, broken human language she had been learning from Sujin. Tammin sang softly. Shannara's breathing slowed and evened out. She fell asleep, holding on to his arm with 2 of her small hands. Cow then appeared in the doorway. Warrior looked at the sleeping child, then at Tammin. She spoke in her language, and though he did not understand the words, he understood the meaning. She was thanking him. After she left, Tammin stayed very still, afraid to wake the child. He thought about what Major Hana had asked him to do. He thought about betraying Villana's trust. To help his species, he thought about Shannara's small hands holding on to him in the dark, and he realized with cold certainty that whatever happened next was going to hurt. There was no path forward that would not require him to betray someone. He could help humanity and break trust. He could honor the Valkyrie and abandon his own people, or he could try to find a third option that nobody had thought of yet, an option where maybe, just maybe, nobody had to die. The challenge came without warning. Tammin was in the training room with Sujin, learning basic Valkyrie phrases, when KH then appeared in the doorway. Her expression was grim. War Chief Valkyrin calls for Kalish judgment. She said the trial begins in 2 hours. Sujin went pale. No, he cannot do that. He can't. Cal then said the old laws allow it. He questions if the human is truly worthy of Calvister status. If the human fails or refuses the trial, the bond is broken. The matriarch will be dishonored. Tammin stood up slowly. 3 challenges, Kay then said, built for Valkyrie, not for soft human bodies. Many Valkyrie fail these tests. You will almost certainly die, and if I refuse, same result. The bond breaks. Villana faces shame before the High Council. Thalorin wins. Tammin felt ice in his stomach. This Thalorin had found a perfect trap, forced the human to face impossible challenges designed for aliens twice his size and 4 times his strength. When Tammin failed, it would prove humans were weak and unworthy of respect. The war would continue. Villana would be disgraced. I will do it, he said. Sujin grabbed his arm. Tammin, you do not understand. These challenges kill Valkyrie warriors. You are human. You cannot possibly. I have to try, he said. Simply. 2 hours later, Tammin stood in a massive chamber filled with Valkyrie, hundreds of them watching from platforms around the room. At the center stood Warchiefin, a huge male with dark blue scales and cold silver eyes. Velrana stood to one side, her face unreadable. By law, she could not help him. She could only watch. Shannara sat beside her mother, her golden eyes wide with fear. When she saw Tammin, she made a small crying sound. Villana put a hand on her daughter's shoulder, holding her back. Thalorin spoke in the Valkyrie language. Sujin, standing near Tammin as his translator, whispered the words. He says you are a fraud, that you manipulated the matriarch with human trickery. He says the trial will prove humans have no honor, no strength, no worth. Tammin said nothing. He just looked at Thalorin and nodded once. Let's begin. The first challenge was called the weight of duty. They brought out a massive shield twice as tall as Tammin and made of some dense metal. It was designed for 4 Valkyrie arms to carry. Tammin had to carry it across a narrow bridge suspended over a deep pit, while machines fired sonic pulses that disrupted balance. Tammin looked at the shield. He could not even lift it with both arms. He tried and failed. The Valkyrie crowd made sounds of contempt. But Tammin was a combat engineer. He understood leverage and weight distribution. He studied the shield for a long moment, then took off his belt and jacket. He tied them to the shield's handles, creating a makeshift harness. Then he used a piece of debris as a lever, tilting the shield onto its edge, where it would roll rather than be carried. He could not carry the shield, so he rolled it slowly. Inch by inch, the sonic pulses hit him and made his head spin. but he kept his eyes on the path and focused on the next step, then the next. When he stumbled, he used the shield itself to brace against. It took him 40 minutes to cross a bridge. That should take 2 minutes, but he crossed it. The crowd was silent. Valkoren's eyes narrowed. The second challenge was the hunt. They released Vel into an arena, a predator from the Valkyrie home world with 6 legs and teeth like knives. Tam Min was given a spear and a knife. He had to capture it alive. The Vel was fast, much faster than Tammin. It circled him, testing his defenses. He could not outrun it. He could not overpower it. But during the 3 hours before the trial, Shannara had sneaked to his quarters despite her mother's orders. The child had whispered to him in broken human language, Velsh. Afraid of high sounds, afraid of fire. Tammin had no fire, but he had the knife and the metal spear. He struck them together hard, creating a ringing sound that echoed through the arena. Velish flinched. He struck again and again, driving the creature back with sound, hurting it toward a corner. Then he used the spear and knife to create a cage of sorts, wedging them into the arena wall and trapping the creature behind them. Not a clean capture, not elegant, but the Velish was captured alive. Valoran's face showed rage now. 2 challenges passed. Impossible. The third challenge was the truth flame. They led Tammin into a chamber filled with strange mist. Sujin had tried to explain it before the trial. It was some kind of pheromone technology that would make him confront his deepest truths. While Valkyrie elders watched and judged his intent, the mist surrounded him. At first nothing happened, then he felt it, a pressure in his mind, pulling out thoughts he had tried to bury. He saw himself in the ruins of New Haven again. Saw the trapped child, felt his hesitation, his anger, his hatred for the species that had killed his friend. The elders could see it all. He knew they could see that his first instinct had been to leave the child to die, but they also saw the moment he changed his mind, the moment he chose mercy over revenge, the moment he decided that a child's life mattered more than the war. They saw his confusion aboard the Crimson Spire, his growing affection for Shannara, his respect for Velana, his conflict between loyalty to humanity and honor to the Valkyrie who had trusted him. They saw everything, every doubt, every fear, every secret, and they saw something else, something that surprised even Tammin. They saw that when he looked at Shannara, he did not see an alien enemy. He saw a child who needed protection. When he looked at Velana, he did not see a monster. He saw a mother who loved her daughter. When he looked at Cal, then he saw a loyal warrior who would die for her matriarch. He saw people, not aliens, not enemies, just people. The mist cleared. Tammin fell to his knees. Exhausted, the chamber was silent. Then one of the elders spoke. An ancient Valkyrie female with white scales. Sujin translated her words. This human shows honor, different from honor, but honor nonetheless. He chose mercy when mercy was harder than cruelty. He chose truth when lies would have been safer. The Calvisar bond is legitimate. The crowd erupted in sound. Some angry, some approving, all shocked. Valoran stepped forward, his forearms spread wide. Enough, Velana's voice cut through the noise like a blade. She walked to the center of the chamber, every eye on her. You called this trial to shame me. Valoran, you failed. The human proved his worth 3 times. You questioned my judgment again, and I will call you too. Personal combat, do you accept this? Challenge, Thalorin's scales flushed. Darker, personal combat with a matriarch. Was a death sentence, he had no choice. But to back down, but as he left the chamber his eyes promised that this was not over. Shannara broke free from the guards and ran to Tammin, throwing her four arms around him. She was crying, making small keening sounds. Tammin held her, too tired to stand. Vellana approached and knelt beside them. You should have failed, she said quietly. Those challenges should have killed you. Sorry to disappoint, Tammin said. With a weak smile, you did not disappoint. Vellana's scales shimmered. You surprised us all, but the trial had consequences beyond the Crimson Spire. The event had been broadcast across both human and Dari space as tradition demanded. Back on Earth, political leaders watched a human pass alien tests of honor. Some saw opportunity, others saw betrayal. Councillor Park Jai, a powerful voice in the human government, went on public broadcasts calling Tammin a traitor. She demanded his return for trial. She said he had abandoned humanity for the enemy. Major Hana, still aboard the Crimson Spire, showed Tammin the broadcasts. Her face was carefully neutral. You have become famous and controversial. I just wanted to help a child, Tam said. I know, Hana said, but sometimes one choice creates consequences we never intended. That night Tam sat in his quarters and wondered what he had started. The trial had proven he had honor, but it had also proven that the line between human and Valkyrie was not as clear as everyone thought, and some people on both sides would kill to keep that line from being crossed. After the trial, things changed quickly. Rana proposed something that shocked both species. She stood before the Valkyrie High Council and suggested a ceasefire with negotiations for peace. She said humans had proven they could show honor. She said maybe the war was wrong. Half the council agreed, half refused. The Valkyrie Empire split down the middle, arguing about what to do about the humans. On Earth, the response was similar. Some leaders saw peace as a chance to stop the dying, others saw it as weakness and demanded total victory. Tammin found himself at the center of everything. He had not asked for this. He had just saved a child, but that simple choice had grown into something much bigger. Warchief saw his power slipping away. If peace happened, warriors like him would lose importance. He needed the war to continue. He needed to prove humans were unworthy of mercy. So he made a terrible choice. Tammin learned about it by accident. He was walking past a strategy room when he heard voices. He should have kept walking, but something made him stop and listen. His Valkyrie language skills were getting better, and he understood enough to feel ice in his blood. Floralin was planning an attack on New Horizon Colony. It was an agricultural world with minimal defenses, mostly farmers, mostly families. The attack would kill thousands of civilians, and Thalorin was keeping it secret from Vellana and the High Council. He was going to launch it without permission, hoping to force the war to continue. Tammin stood frozen in the corridor. He knew something he should not know. If he told Vellana, he would be revealing that he had spied on Valkyrie military secrets. If he told the humans, he would betray the trust of the ship he lived on. But if he did nothing, innocent people would die. He thought about it for 2 hours alone in his quarters. Then Shannara came to visit like she did every day. She climbed onto his sleeping platform and showed him a drawing she had made. It showed a human and a Valkyrie child holding hands. You and me, she said proudly in human language. Tammin looked at that drawing and made his choice. He went to Velana and told her everything. He explained that he had overheard the planning, that Thalorin was about to attack a defenseless colony. He expected her to be angry at him for spying. He expected punishment. Instead, Velana stood very still for a long moment. Then she spoke. How long until the attack? 8 hours, Tammin said. Not enough time to get council approval, she said. Her scales rippled with what Tammin had learned meant anger, but enough time to stop him. She turned to Cal then. Prepare my fastest ships. We leave immediately. Matriarch Cal then said, carefully, if you interfere with a Wararkeef's battle plan, it will cause problems. The council will let the council complain after I save them from dishonor. Velrana said is attacking civilians without permission. He is acting without honor. We will stop him. Major Hana had been in a meeting nearby. She came running when she heard Tammin told her about New Horizon, about the attack. Her face went white. Tammin taller, Tammin taller, Tammin taller. My brother Minu is stationed there, she said quietly. He is a teacher at the agricultural school. She looked at Tammin, and he saw fear in her eyes for the first time. She did not ask him to do anything. She did not have to. He had already made his choice. Velana's ship raced toward New Horizon, pushing engines past safe limits. They would arrive at the same time as Floralin's attack fleet. Hana contacted the human defenders on New Horizon, warning them about the attack. But the colony had only 2 defense ships. They could not stop a full Valkyrie fleet. When they arrived at New Horizon, the battle was just beginning. Thalorin's ships were forming an attack pattern around the planet. The small human defenders were already taking damage. Then Velana's fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Between the 2 sides, Valkyrie started fighting. Valkyrie, the human defenders, stopped firing, confused. The colonists below watched their screens in shock. Valkyrie ships were protecting them from other Valkyrie ships. Velana broadcast on all channels, speaking in both Valkyrie and human language. I am Matriarch Velana. Wararkeef Thielkorin attacks without honor, without council permission, targeting civilians. This is not the Valkyrie way. This is not worthy of our people. Thalorin responded. With rage you defend the humans. You betray your own species for these animals. I defend honor. Velana said something you have forgotten. The battle was fierce. Thalorin had more ships, but crews were loyal and fighting for a principle that meant something to them. Tammin worked with Hana, coordinating between human and Dari ships, creating the first Humanari tactical alliance in history. The turning point came from an unexpected place. Shannara had sneaked onto the bridge despite orders to stay safe. She saw the battle on the screens and understood that people were dying. Her people, Min's people, all because of hate. The child did something brave and foolish. She opened a broadcast channel and started talking. Her young voice went out across every ship in the battle. I am Shannara, daughter of Matriarch Velana. I was trapped in the ruins when the humans attacked our forces. I was scared and hurt. A human soldier found me. His name is Tammin. He could have killed me. He could have left me to die, but he saved me. He protected me. He sang to me when I was afraid. Why do we fight? People who protect children, why do we hurt those who show mercy? The broadcast went to every ship. Valkyrie warriors heard the heir to Matriarch's house talking about honor and mercy. They heard a child asking a simple question that adults had forgotten to ask. Ships started to slow down, weapons powered down. Thalarin screamed orders, but his crews were not listening anymore. They were thinking about what the child had said. In the silence, one of Thalarin's ship captains spoke up. The child is right. We have forgotten honor in our pursuit of victory. I will not fire on civilians. I will not follow orders without honor. Other captains agreed. One by one, ships withdrew from Thalarin's fleet. The Wararchy found himself commanding only a handful of vessels. Faced with dishonor and defeat, Thalarin made a final choice. He challenged Villana to single combat, as was his right, but before the Matriarch could accept, he chose ritual suicide. Instead, unable to face the shame of what he had done, the battle ended. New Horizon was safe. No civilians died. Impossible had happened. Human and Valkyrie ships floated in space together, no longer fighting, both sides uncertain. What came next? Tammin stood on the bridge of the Crimson Spire, watching the peaceful scene. Shannara hugged his waist, tired from her brave speech. Villana stood tall, her scales shimmering with something like pride. Major Hana received confirmation that her brother was alive and safe. She looked at Tammin and nodded once, a gesture of respect and thanks. From that moment, everything changed. The ceasefire became official. Peace negotiations began. It was slow and difficult. 7 years of war could not be fixed in a day, but there was hope now where there had been none before. 2 years later, Tammin worked as the primary cultural liaison for the Humanari Joint Council. He traveled between Earth and the Valkyrie home world, helping both species understand each other. It was exhausting work, and sometimes he missed the simple days when he was just a corporal following orders. But then he would see humans and Valkyrie working together, and he would remember why it mattered. Rana had become a strong voice for peace, though she still faced opposition from those who wanted war. Shannara, now older, was training to be a diplomat. She still called Tam her shield brother and made him teach her new Korean songs. Major Hana, now Colonel Hana, worked with Sujin to create the first interspecies military academy. Her brother Minyu taught at a school where human and Valkyrie children studied together. He sent Tammin messages, sometimes thanking him for the life he still had. The scars of war remained. Not everyone accepted peace. Some humans still hated the Valkyrie. Some Valkyrie still saw humans as enemies. Trust was fragile and there were setbacks, but the work continued. One evening, Tam stood on a balcony on the Valkyrie home world, looking up at unfamiliar stars. Shannara found him there, as she often did. She was almost as tall as him now, growing fast. Do you regret it? She asked in perfect human language. Saving me that day. Tammin thought about everything that had happened. The trial, the battle, the years of difficult work, the hate mail he received from both species, the death threats, the loneliness of being caught between two worlds. Then he thought about the schools where children of two species played together. He thought about the joint colonies being planned. He thought about the fact that humans and Valkyrie were talking instead of killing. No, he said, I do not regret Shannara smiled and leaned against his shoulder just like she used to when she was small. Good, because I would be very sad if you did. They stood in comfortable silence, watching the alien stars. T-Men had learned something important in these years. Peace was harder than war. Understanding was harder than hate. But the hard things were often the things most worth doing. He had been a soldier who saved an enemy child. That child's mother had claimed him, and together somehow they had found a way to stop a war that everyone said would never end. It was not a perfect peace. There were still problems, still conflicts, still people on both sides who wanted to go back to fighting, but it was peace. It was a chance, it was hope, and sometimes hope was enough. The shield that protected one child had become the shield that protected two species. Min had never planned to change the galaxy. He had just tried to do the right thing in a difficult moment. Sometimes he thought that was all anyone could do, try to do the right thing and hope it mattered. Looking at the peaceful night sky, at the stars that now represented cooperation instead of conflict, Tam thought maybe it had mattered after all. Maybe in the end that was